Dr. Jazz.
First of all, thanks for finding the time. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.
you know, I was the other day going through my records and I listened to Takeoff, and that's me, the early stuff from the 90s. I was like, shit, man, what are you up to? So I dropped you a line and just to hear your story a little bit. But I want to start this talk by asking you, like, what's happening on the band leading department for you? Because I noticed you have like this Best of Blues album out, which is kind of like a compilation of. But have you been preparing something new?
Well, I'm just composing and getting ready with my studio again, because my old setup broke down. You know how it is. I have an old Mac dual core, and things are not working anymore with that. And I just bought a new program, and so I'm getting started again.
Okay, because you play a lot of solo, right? Lately, I saw.
Lately, yeah, and also I play Hammond organ and pipe organ, and I have a lot of pipe organ concerts as well.
Really?
Wonderful organs, and that's taking a lot of time, of course, to prepare and to get to know the instrument. And so yeah, I'm doing both. Sometimes also in one concert that I play a part on the Hammond organ and other part on pipe organs. And there are so many wonderful pipe organs everywhere in the world to discover.
Yeah, especially Germany also. I mean, there's so much in Germany,
that's
right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, incredible. Yeah. But when did you start playing solo? I mean, I know you started messing around then with samples and, you know, adding different sounds to the instrument itself. And
yeah.
I think you were one of the first people actually to start doing this. Like, but when does this story begin with you? With actually with organ, I'll go even back, jazz organ specifically. I don't know. Did you have like a specific aha moment that you said like, shit, I want to improvise or play the blues? Or
now the thing is that there are not many organists who play solo concerts.
Exactly.
But on the other hand, the organ is such a wonderful instrument. You can do anything. You can comp yourself. You can play solo. And you might know that my specialty is the bass playing. And it's really something which I developed quite far. So this gives me the possibility to really play solo because I don't need any accompaniment. And well, both things are interesting. On the one hand, if you have great musicians, it's very inspiring and you can bring up the whole thing and inspire you all together. But the solo is a total different thing because you are alone on stage and anything you do is noticed. You can't hide behind any other musician, or, you know, if you take your fingers away to change registration, nobody else is there to fill this gap. So you are really, it's a really thrilling thing, and it gives you a lot of freedom, and I like to have control somehow. So yeah, it's a big challenge, and I started this many years ago, I think, already. And well, almost when I started playing, I also played solo. But in the beginning, at least mostly I had a drummer with me. But then sometimes in the end 80s, beginning of 90s, I started to develop all that MIDI stuff. And a combination with synthesizers. And one thing which was very important for me was the possibility to play a bass sound with my feet, which was a sampled contrabass sound. And this gave me, of course, a lot of possibilities, and I developed that. And I was, besides having my bands, which I still have, I also played a lot of solo. As I said, really challenging, but it's also a great feeling if you're standing like on stage in a big philharmonic hall and you're alone, so you have to make it or not.
It's heavy.
And,
it's amazing.
Yeah, and you have absolute freedom because there's no one else who has to. You have to communicate, or you have to follow, or who has to follow you, whatever.
Yeah.
So it has a big quality as of course playing with great musicians. I mean, this is also a wonderful thing to do. So I think both is good. But as I played a lot of pipe organ concerts, I prefer to play solo in that on that instrument, because it's such a complex instrument with also, if you want to make it interesting, you really have a lot of dynamic. You play very soft sounds up to really loud tutti. And this is also a bit difficult with someone else playing, because unbelievable that a pipe organ is, if it's a big one, it has really a great volume, but you have a drummer there or a saxophone player and he is so loud in comparison to the pipe organ. When you want to play really soft things, and I like to play with registrations, and there the little details are so important. And as immediately when you have another instrument, it's covering that. And so pipe organ is something I really like to do in solo, because then I can develop the groove. It's also difficult for a drummer to play with pipe organ because of the delay you have.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So how did you mentioned sampling the acoustic bass? How did you come up with that idea? And I mean, where did that come from?
Yeah, it comes from my beginning, because when I started playing, we were looking for a teacher, and it was very difficult. It was in 1975 in Germany, and there were no real teachers around. And my father, who was always supporting me, he found someone, and that was the coincidence. He had an old Hammond organ B3, and he played jazz music on it. He played mostly American songbook, or real book, that's kind of stuff, standards. And I heard that, and I was so fascinated from the sound, from that kind of music playing on a Hammond organ. And he played foot pedals, So I saw that the first time. My first organ did not have foot pedals. So I saw that, and I thought, oh, wow, this is great. I want to learn that. So I really started with playing the pedals when I started to learn the instrument. Wow. And there are a lot of organists who came maybe from the piano playing and then switched over to the organ, or just the old style, like Jimmy Smith played it. He played mostly left-hand bass, or played with a bassist. And so it was a totally different approach I had, and I didn't know anything else. For me, that was natural. And so when I left from my teacher, which was about 1.5 years later, I went on autodidactic.
Okay.
I'm learning by myself, self-taught. And I just tried to develop that bass playing, because I was so fascinated by bass players, and my wish was, as good as it's possible, to substitute a bass player. And you might remember those play along records we had at the time on vinyl. And I bought some, and on one Ron Carter was playing, and so that was so inspiring. And I bought I have it today, a little thin book with bass lines from Ron Carter, and I practiced that with my pedals, with my foot. So and that gave me an idea what to play on the bass. And I'm self-taught in that field. So for me, that's like dancing. It's natural. I don't like to play without my foot or my feet. Also, it's really exhausting, of course. but it's kind of my groove. When I play, for example, with big bands, very often the bass player is playing, but I still keep on playing my bass just without sound. Only for the feeling, you know. And
Interesting.
it's really funny because I play a lot of originals, and very often the bass players look at my pedals and try to follow.
Amazing. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Quite cool. Like, when did you start then leading bands? Like immediately, like late 70s or early? Yeah, like in playing jazz around Munich and Bavaria. Was like that early 80s or?
Yeah. I started very early. I gave my first concerts when I was 13 or so.
Wow. Okay.
Excuse me. And when I was 15, I already played regularly in a jazz club in Munich.
Oh, okay.
And, you know, at that time, it was so unusual to play Hammond organ, and especially a young girl.
Exactly.
It was really something very strange, and people very often said, "Why don't you play piano?" And I said, "No, I'm organist. I like this sound, and I love it, and I don't want to play anything else." And nobody really wanted to play with organ players at that time because they were all afraid they have to carry that instrument when you go on tour. You know, it's very heavy. So I had to start having my own band. So I was practicing with two colleagues, a drummer and a guitar player at that time when I was still in school. And we never played gigs together. It's just we rehearsed and they composed. And that's how I came into composing at that time. I was about I was 14, 15, something like that. And after that time, when I started to play in the jazz club, I already had my own songs composed, and of course also playing a lot of standards because people preferred to hear standards at that time. And so I always did a compromise, and I tried to get my audience to follow me, and that worked quite well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So nowadays I mainly play on compositions, and I compose also complex music, especially for pipe organ, which also goes in a bit in a classical direction. And this is something which is so important for me, not only playing, but composing, arranging, and I love that. So at the moment, I don't like to go on tour so much. I really prefer to stay and just work on my music, and yeah.
It's nice being home to compose, and yeah, it's nice. I mean, the road is really nice, but then after you've done a lot, it's really like, okay, another hotel, another. It's nice to play, but
yeah, I mean, it's good to do it. And in former times, I couldn't stay a few days without playing live on stage. But that has changed a little bit. Also, traveling has become more exhausting, I think, as it was in former days. And so it's just nice to. I mean, you know, you have periods which are different. Everything has his time or its time.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Well, what's your process when composing? I mean, how do you start?
Oh, very.
With the melody, or it just varies, like with the melody or
yeah. I mean, sometimes I just play on the organ, and I don't want to compose, but suddenly I have an idea, and then I start writing down, taking some notes, or sometimes because I also do compositions which are hired by someone, so. Sometimes I just have to compose something special, and then I sit down and start. And it's interesting. Yeah, I'm having ideas. It's funny. I have so many papers where I have taken notes of ideas or recorded something very quickly. And I have a lot of ideas, but I can't play them anymore because they are on old programs. You know how it is,
yeah.
computer stuff. So I prefer actually to really take handwritten notes, and from that it can be a bass line, it can be some pattern, it can be a melody or some harmonic combination, chords. So anything. It's just fun, and yeah, I don't know. Somehow it always flows.
Yeah. It's a composition is a nice thing. I mean, it's I love doing that as well. Yeah. I wanted to ask you also about your label, because you've had your label now for 40 years already, and I mean,
Even
later
more,
I want to go into this, like or even more, like how did you decide to do that? Like, because in the early 80s, especially in Europe, in the States, people did it already, but in Europe this was not so frequent. What's your story behind the label? And
yeah, I mean, I was I had a quintet at that time with three horn players and a drummer. And I wanted to make recordings, and I had before I had recorded 2 vinyl productions with a German organ company called Dr. Böhm. I don't know if you have heard about that. There were two companies for people who wanted to build their organs by themselves, not Hammond organs. It was just some electronic. But I worked with some technicians at that company, and we tried to make it sound like a Hammond organ, and we had a cooperation, and so I did 2 LPs with them, which were really nice, with one with a quartet, with a violin player, guitar player.
Really? Oh, okay.
Yeah, very interesting, and it was a mixture of classical things in a jazzy way, and own compositions and standards, or Stevie Wonder or whatever, it's just a nice mix. And the other was a live in duo recording with a drummer, and there was no interest by a real record company at that time to record me, or and actually I had a lot of energy all my life, and when I wanted something, I really worked for that. So I tried to find a possibility to record, because I wanted to make a record. Sorry. And as I said, no record label which was around at that time for jazz music was interested. So I just decided, okay, I found my own record company, and that was actually 1985.
Oh,
yeah, 84, something around that. And I hired a sound engineer and the equipment, and I did a live recording in a local jazz club, and that was really a nice thing, and it got a lot of success. I got the prize of the German record critics, which was really a very important prize. And after that, suddenly the record companies got interested.
That's how Enya became interested.
Yeah, before was even another label. Peter Herbolzheimer. Sure. Had great.
Yeah, one of the greats of German jazz.
Absolutely, and he died unfortunately. But he at that time he also heard about me, and he was asking me if I would like to make a recording with his big band, which was a big honor for me. Oh, wow. And I was even allowed to bring in some own compositions, and we did a record called A Tribute to Charlie Parker, so a lot of bebop mainly, and that's wonderful. And after that, Enya came and was asking me, if I would like to play with American musicians, and I said, of course. And that's how I got to know my favorite guitar player, for example, who is Mitch Watkins from Texas. Yeah. He's just amazing. And Ronnie Bourage was, and of course Ray Anderson on trombone, Ronnie Bourage on drums. And that was really a hot band. And
I love Ray, that connection was.
We recorded that in one of the best studios in Ludwigsburg in Germany. Oh, yeah. And there followed 2 other Records, and I always, but besides that, I always kept my own label. So
yeah. How did you find out about Ray and Ronnie? I mean, why those guys? I mean, obviously they're amazing players, but
yeah, that came actually through Matthias Winkelmann, who was the owner from Angel Records, and it was his idea. So that's how it came up. Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Okay. And also that connection then later with Bob Burke, or
that was my
Dennis.
Because of course, yeah. I had always my favorite musicians with whom I really loved to play, and Bob Burke was fantastic. And Dennis Chambers is one of my absolute favorite drummers because he can just play anything, you know.
Yeah.
And he has is amazing timing. And for me, it's so important because I play the bass lines. So if I have to care about a drummer who is not really into the time, it's really exhausting for me, and I can't play free because it has to. You don't need to. You should not think about it. You should just go and play. And Dennis is super. It was so much fun. I just recently, by chance, saw on YouTube old recording when we played in Vienna in the Metropole quartet with Mitch Watkins, Dennis Chambers, and Andy Shepard.
Oh wow, really? Oh, wow.
The band played fantastic. I was, you know, I don't listen to my music normally, but it came up. Someone sent me the link, and I said, "Wow, this was a great night." They played so fantastic.
Yeah, you and Dennis, like I love how you connected. You know, you with the bass, and I mean, he's so funky. He's in the pocket and music,
absolutely,
and so amazing.
Yeah. And swinging on the other side. You know, he can do anything. This is so, and he's not reading. He's just memorizing everything.
Exactly.
And it's amazing. Yeah.
And Bob also. I mean, he was amazing.
You know, he came out of the studio cabin, you know, where the saxophone was recorded, and he played a solo that we were really sitting there. Wow! And he came out and said, "Shit, I have to do this again. It was not good."
Yeah, all these guys.
Unbelievable. Yeah.
Yeah, all these guys, Mincer and Brecker and Bob Berg. That's cool. They were so good, so original, also fantastic. Yeah, I love those records. And how did then the story with Verve begin? Because that's how I got to know you. I bought Takeoff like in mid-90s. I didn't know who you were like mid-90s. I was starting with jazz, and then I saw these names: Roy Hargrove and Ray Anderson and Don Elias. And
I was very lucky at that time because Universal and Verve came to me, and they were asking me at that time motor music. You know, the labels always change something from another one. So and they contacted me, especially the leader of the jazz department, Christian Kellersmann, and he was asking me if I would like to cooperate with them, and of course I wanted to. Verve was one of the best labels, of course. And the great thing was they really gave me the possibility. I got a good budget. And I could really get all the musicians I love.
Okay.
So this was my dream band, and I just said I would love to have Roy Hargrove, Ray Anderson again, Dennis Chambers, Antonio Hart, all the great guys. And so yeah, it worked, and so we did Takeoff, and that was a big success. I got a couple of jazz awards, and it was best sold jazz record in Germany.
Really?
And it was really a great success. There were even these vinyl versions with 2 songs for the disco and clubs and so.
Oh, okay.
That was that time, funky stuff. And that's how it got started. And I had a contract for 3 recordings. And later I actually I did not want to continue because they were taking too much influence for my taste. Because one thing in my career has always been my freedom. I did not make any compromises regarding my music. And no money in the world could bring me to make compromises. So that's it. And I concentrated on my label again. So.
Yeah, it's good that you had this experience, you know, because I think it got you a lot of exposure, because obviously Verve and Enya had a distribution everywhere, you know, even here in Slovenia. So it's like, you know, all these records came everywhere. So that's a good thing, yeah.
And it was like feeling in heaven, you know, to play with all those great musicians and playing my arrangements and my music. I mean, and they were so nice. And they really tried to make it great, and they gave everything, and it was such a wonderful cooperation.
Did you bring some of those bands on the road as well?
Yeah, we never succeeded to have the real big
sure.
band, but with trio or quartet, things like that. Stanis I played, and so Ray Anderson, of course, and with Mitch I played quite some concerts, and it was a wonderful time. But well, it's a lot of with organization, with all the equipment and stuff, and you know, the problem is, as I play a very special setup with my organ, the MIDI system, which the regular Hammond B3 does not have that. And for me, it's essential to have a real contrabass kind of sounding foot pedal bass. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
MIDI system and a sampler, and it was hard to get it. You know, other organists who do not play bass, they just go anywhere in the world where there's a Hammond B3, for example, and play. I can't do that. I always needed my special setup with the bass playing, and that made it a bit hard for me to go at some places. I mean, I traveled a lot with, especially America or Canada or so, or exotic countries where they did not have any special electronics. I traveled with my flight case and my foot pedals with the MIDI system.
Oh, wow, okay. That's a lot.
But that was really not so easy. So that made it a bit difficult for me, because it was always the same topic. Yeah, we have a nice Hammond organ. I said, yeah, that's wonderful, but you know that I play bass lines and I need a special, some special things for that. And that was in general for me in organizational questions a bit difficult. So yeah.
What was it, if you compare now, like when you started in the 80s and the 90s, where you did all these records, to nowadays, the scene gigging wise, and how has the scene developed from your view? I mean, there's so many musicians now in Europe, everywhere, and
I mean, it's fantastic. There are so many wonderful musicians, but still the organ players are not so many.
Yeah, exactly.
And but the situation has become better because it's first of all, there have been these clones, these Hammond clones, which I not really like, but it's a compromise you can make, and they have a MIDI system already built in, so you can get it for countries where they don't have anything else. And I can at least, then I have my bass line and the organ sound, which is okay. It's not what it's okay. And on the other hand, I'm working together with some companies who have exactly the equipment I need. Nowadays, it's possible because they got the MIDI system for me in the pedals. And so whenever I play somewhere which is more or less in their range, and that's quite far, they just bring the whole setup, and I do not have to travel anymore with my own organ, which I did for really about 40 years or so.
Wow, that's crazy.
And you know, I was even doing tours to North America and Canada with my own equipment, with my own Hammond organ, and I was really crying after that because it came back and everything was ruined. Because airlines on cargo, you have the best flight cases, but they can destroy anything. And I said, I don't want to do this anymore.
That's frustrating.
Yeah.
Oh man, terrible. Yeah. I wanted to ask you also your story with Friedrich Gulda. you know, you playing the pipe organ. I guess there's this sort of a connection. But how did you hook up with him? I mean, him being one of the names in classical world also.
Yeah, he's an absolute hero, a genius in my opinion, because he could play the classical stuff wonderful, and also he could play jazz. And I don't know if you know for example, he had wonderful big band recordings he did in New York with a big band. He put together all the musicians. He had really all the names in that, and he played so good.
He was good. It was amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. So he really made it possible to do everything, which is really something very special. And also he did a lot of things for the jazz music especially in Germany, Austria, Europe. Yeah. Because he opened the classical places for jazz music, you know, and it's a nice story. You want to hear that? How we met?
Oh yeah, please, yeah. That's yeah.
Really I was regularly playing in a jazz club in Vienna. It's one of the oldest jazz clubs. It's the Jazz Land. Right? Yeah, it's famous all over the world, right? And I started playing there in my teens already. And I played with Charlie Antolini, the drummer there, and Oscar Klein, and then with my bands. And so one night I was playing there. I mean, this is one of the jazz clubs where you can play more days, not only one night, which is nice, especially if you have to transport a Hammond organ down the steps, because it's building, and it's in the cellar. So, and very narrow steps. So anyway, I played with my drummer in duo. And when I took a break, I passed by a table, and there was Friedrich Gulda sitting, and he stopped me and he said if I would know who he is. And I said, yes, of course I know. And then he said right away, would you like to play with me? But I have to warn you, because the press or the critics, they are not always very nice to me. And when you play with me, maybe it's happening to you too, or whatever. And of course, I was so happy that he asked me. And I said, yeah, of course, I don't care. And yes, let's do it. And that's how we got started. And there's a castle in Germany. It's called Schloss Elmau. They have a famous jazz festival there, which was founded in a way by us, because Gulda had a good friend, a woman. She was the castle belonged to her family in a way, and she died many years ago now. But she invited us, and so we went there for about, I don't remember, 10 days or so, and we got food and could stay there, and there was a piano and a very nice concert venue. And so we were allowed to stay there for free for the 10 days. Just we had to give one concert in the end. And we went there. It's in the mountains. It's very quiet and oh, I don't find the word now. Anyway.
I know what you mean, yeah.
Like meditating, let's say like that. And so we stayed there and we experimented. We played free, and he loved my synth sounds as well. And we just played and worked on a program, and that's how we started. We did our first concert there. And then I played regularly with Friedrich, and his manager or agency. They had lots of concerts, and so I got together with Joe Zawinul, and we played big concert in the Philharmonic Hall in Munich with the Zawinul Syndicate, with the Philharmonic Orchestra, really? And with Gulda's Paradise Band. That was really an event. Can't imagine. But I also did a lot of duo concerts with him, which was a big challenge, of course. I mean, with such a great musician. But he always respected me, and he loved my music and my playing, and we felt on the same level in a way, and like partners. And he was a person who really could get very enthusiastic when he liked the music, and it was also inspiring to play with him and to see how he smiles, or to get into the music. And so it was a great time. I learned a lot because with Gulda I got more approach with classical music, and as I said, he's an absolute genius. He could play anything, also by ear. And so that was a great time for me, for personally, because he was a very interesting person, and we were really good friends. And a lot of people said bad things about him, and I have made a lot of experience with him. But very often, when you know the backgrounds, you find out that he was right. He was just a person who was very straight and direct, and
he had his own thing.
He said his opinion, but when he burned for something, he just really did everything to make it possible. And he could play with an orchestra, play fantastic piano, and in the same time direct the orchestra.
Amazing. Yeah. It's beautiful. You got to, you had a chance to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm thankful for everything I was able to do in all those years.
Incredible. Barbara, what's still on the schedule for you for the upcoming months, and gigging wise, recording wise, project wise? What are your plans?
Oh, actually, I took a little break for myself. It was an experience for me, because when Corona came, it was the first time that gigs were cancelled, and something which was not in my world, because I never thought about that something like that could happen, and I never cancelled a concert, or basically mostly no concert was cancelled for me. So this was something totally new, and I had no idea how I feel with that. And it was not, it was bad, of course, no question, especially with your schedule, always not knowing, can you play the concert or can't you play the concert, or what happens. So that was an absolutely bad time. But it was the first time something in my feeling changed, that I made the experience, it's possible to stay at home and not to play a concert. It was so normal for me to play the concerts all the time, all my life. And so this year I just thought, no, there are so many things on my to-do list which never can do, because when you're touring all the time, you don't have the time. And honestly, the bureaucratic work, sorry for my English sometimes, it got more and more, and it takes a lot of precious time away, which is really a pity, especially for artists. And I was mainly all my life working on my own, doing the booking by myself, and also because of no good experiences I made with agencies, and a manager I never had. I never wanted to. So of course this is a lot more work to do.
Of course,
It got more work. If I remember how much I was playing in former times and organizing everything, and I still had time to compose and do everything. And nowadays, this is almost impossible, because it's taking so much more time to organize. So I thought I really want to try how it feels when there's a period of time I do not go out. And it feels good. Sure. Because I'm not stopping doing music. I'm working. I'm composing at the moment. I have a lot of ideas, and I write it. And I bought the new program to write my music. So you have to study the new features.
Of course.
You know how much time that takes. So that's what I basically do. And I have already things ready, but I just did not bring it out. And next year there will be more concerts again. But this is an interesting experience to do, and it's good to go back and listen to your body and get inspiration and just calm down a little bit. I feel that this is good after such a long life with so many concerts every year. You know, it's energy which it takes, and
absolutely.
Every time you are on stage, you give a lot, and people take a lot, but of course they give you energy back. But still, I mean, you have to travel, as you said. You have to pack, you have to fly. You don't get enough sleep, all that stuff. So it's good to relax. And now we have Winter Wonderland here, and it's kind of nice. I have a little dog, and I go for a walk very long, and I play and compose, and of course do my office work, which I don't like. But things have to be done.
Absolutely. Yeah. Fantastic. Beautiful. Well, I'll let you go into the Winter Wonderland now.
Actually, that's what I do after our interview.
Oh,
because
okay.
the sun is shining and absolute blue sky.
But yeah, I mean, thanks again for finding the time. Appreciate it and sharing some of these thoughts. Really nice to hear you talking about it.
It was a pleasure to talk to you. And
me too. And I hope we get to meet or to play one day. Would be beautiful. I'm here in Slovenia. If you're ever around, I'm like half an hour south of Graz, so drop me a line.
But do you come to Germany too sometimes?
Yeah, I tour quite a lot in Germany. I mean, like, you know, we did it everywhere from Bamberg, Bayreuth, all that.
Ah, okay.
Nuremberg to Berlin to Karlsruhe. We did everything. Yeah.
Everything. Yeah. Is it with your band or with?
Yeah. I play lately a lot with Arild Andersen, the bass player, and Patrice Ral, a drummer from France, from Paris. So we have a trio and a new record coming out soon. But I'm also taking it a little bit slow. We have a 2-year-old daughter now, so I want to be home, you know, and not to be on the road.
I see. I understand absolutely. I mean, things are going so fast with little children.
Oh man, yeah.
You are away for some time and you come home and
yeah, I was on the road in May. Yeah, for a week, and you know, I came back. I was like, shit, it's like so much happened in a week, and like then I was like, oh, I'll stay home and practice and teach. And
So. What's her name?
Oh, Luna.
Lula.
Yeah.
Okay, that's nice. Lula.
Nice. Luna. That's super. Barbara, I'll let you know when this is out. I'll send you a link and everything, and then we can share.
Yeah, that's good to do because we have this monthly newsletter, and so we can publish the link. So
fantastic, super.
Yeah. So if you let me know early enough when it's online, then we will put the link on.
Great, fantastic. And stay in touch. If you're around, drop me a line and we get together or something.
Okay. So have a great time with your daughter, with Lulu. And
I will.
Again, nice concerts, and maybe we meet one day in person.
Maybe we'll see. No. I'll let you know if I play in Munich or something like that. So
please do so. Yeah. Okay.
I will do. Okay.
I'm glad that we worked out with that camera.
Yes.
Stuff now.
Me too. I was already worried in the beginning, like, oh shit, no, again. But okay, we made it work.
Yeah, me too. I thought, oh God, hopefully the camera is working.
We made it.
Anyway, we made it.
Yeah. Cool. Barbara, danke, vielen Dank, and stay in touch.
It was my pleasure. Thank you.
You too.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Dr. Jazz.